Hey, Chris.
Yeah, Fred.
What's a Mason?
That's a really good question, Fred.
You've reached the internet's home for all things masonry. Join Chris and I as we plumb the depths of our ancient craft. From the common gavel to the trowel, nothing is off the table. So grab your tools and let's get to work. This is On the Level. Well, Brother Chris, once again, On the Level with Fred and Chris. Survived another week. Wow. So I see you're adjusting the camera there as we speak in our intro.
Hey!
He's back. He's back. What's happening, brother?
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
It moved. We started off with a little bit of tech sorrow this morning, but looks like we're underway.
Tech ghost is attacking us this morning.
That's right. There are ghosts in the machine.
Gremlins?
Yes, it's almost always user error.
Yeah.
However,
no, gremlins. It's gremlins. Dang little things.
Well, brother,
yes.
I gotta say, our Master Mason lessons from Master Mason Part 1 was an absolute overwhelming hit.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Oh man, I mean, the response is still coming in. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to me.
I think people really want to talk about the Master Mason degree.
Well, and I think they also I think we as a fraternity are just hungry for the esoteric teachings of Masonry, for the basics, and then on through to the upper side of it. I think I'm ready to commit a bulk of our time on the podcast to, in fact, teaching out of whatever manual, book, and or basic teaching, esoteric teaching of Freemasonry as a rule. What do you think?
I think we can make that happen. I mean, we're here to serve.
That's right. That's right.
I'm glad that they want to talk about this stuff because it's what we want to talk about too. Yeah,
that's right. And it's amazing to me how it's such a need, and it kind of speaks to the, wherever you see a need, it immediately identifies a deficit, right? A need, a major overwhelming need is identifying a deficit.
Well, we're just tapping into our own desire. I mean, we really just we tried doing this in the lodge. We tried inviting people to come,
right,
sit and talk, and it didn't work out. People didn't come. But we still had a desire to talk. So we said, we'll do it on a podcast.
Right on.
And here we are.
Okay.
19-ish episodes in, I think.
Yeah, I think this would be 19, yeah.
What do you think? We end season 1 with this Grand Lodge session? Maybe we do it
all right,
in Grand Lodge cycles.
Okay.
New Grandmaster means a new season.
New Grandmaster, new season. We have not confirmed it yet, since you mentioned it, but we will be at Grand Lodge in Orlando coming up here. We're not sure if we're going to be invited to speak on the big stage, but we will be having a booth there. And we will be attempting to do some not live broadcasts, but podcasts from there and interview some brothers. I've already asked a couple if they could make themselves available. They said they would, so I'm pretty excited about that. And then we'll see.
If you, listening, want to be on the podcast, maybe you should come by.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
maybe
come on by.
Just do a bunch of little quick spots of listeners that stop by to say hi.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Sound out their name and lodge number, position if they have one.
That would be awesome.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah. So we're going to be there. Our tech guy is he struggles. He struggles. So, but that'd be me. But I'm going to do my best to set it all up and get it running. I used to run sound, and I've got a lot of experience in live radio, but the tech side, it changes so much, Anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the Master Mason degree.
Something that doesn't change.
Something that has not changed for, at least
years.
350 years. So
yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that part. Okay, so we left off last week at 5.2. We're working out of the Florida Grand Lodge Mentor's Manual. We are on page 20, which is subsection 5.3, which talks about preparation. And of course, I left the door to the studio open, which is always a bad idea. But
let me fix that.
Wait a minute. We have someone who jumped in, and an angel jumped in and closed the door for us. Look at that! Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Huh?
I don't know how that happened,
Wow.
but it happened.
Your
It
Jedi
happened.
mind powers are strong this
Jedi
morning.
mind powers. That's right.
You want to close the door.
All right, so enough of this, Chris.
Oh,
come
fine,
on now.
Fine.
They're all yelling. They're yelling at their phones right now. Shut up! Shut up!
Master Mason degree.
Master Mason degree. Let's focus. So I'm going to read from 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5. Not in a row. We'll start their paragraphs. So I think they're very, very informative. We'll land on 5.5, which is the obligation. I don't know if we'll get to 5.8 if you're following along in your mentor's manual. 5.8, of course, is Masonic explanation of dotage, fool, libertine, and profane. And I think it's going to be a great teaching. I kind of dug into that one a little bit, but I don't know if we'll get there. Maybe we'll save that for episode number 3.
Yeah.
Preparation. Okay. The observing candidate will discover several differences in his preparation for this degree when he compares it with the other two. Through the clothing, he is again reminded that he is to be humble. He is also taught that his obligations become more extensive and binding each time he advances. He is again reminded that he attains many of his desires only with the assistance given him by a friend and brother. Preparation, brother. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think by the time you get your Master Mason degree, you start to feel like, I know what's going to happen. I have this under control.
Right.
This preparation isn't totally foreign to me now. I came to expect it. I'm laughing about it. It's a cool, normal thing by this time. But hopefully, in your educations, you've learned to try to look at what's happening and start to put the pieces together in your mind of why am I being prepared this way? And I think this time when you go through the actual ritual and the ceremony, you're probably connecting the dots better of what's happening to you and why you were prepared this way better than you did in the past. So it makes a lot of sense why people are really interested in the Master Mason degree, because their experience, they were much more aware of it. They were probably felt a little less afraid of it, a little more in control of it. And so this first half of the Master Mason degree is probably a very exciting, they've been building to this for 6 months almost, probably. And everybody tells them what a big day it is. And so, I don't think they're completely shocked in the preparation room. I think it's probably a rhythm. They've been with these guys now for months that they're getting prepared with, if they're doing it together with somebody. And they've gotten the education and they've gotten all the pre-education. So from what I recall, the Master Mason preparation time was an exciting time. Yeah. Very exciting. It was not nearly as nerve-wracking as the first two.
Yeah, I agree. When I entered apprentice in the preparation room, I had no idea what was going on. And the dear brother who read the pre-initiation mentor out of the mentor's manual, there's a pre-entered apprentice initiation talk that you give. And this dear brother, whom I love dearly, decided to write his own and did not read out of the manual.
Oh.
And though I think had I been more knowledgeable of the basics of Freemasonry, that would have been helpful. But I knew nothing. I had no idea what was about to happen at all. So I went into this not only a little fearful and apprehensive, but completely clueless.
Because you didn't get properly mentored.
Correct. And there are reasons for that legitimate reasons for that. We've gone over that in other podcasts. But
I think that's probably an issue many, many, many Masons have faced.
Yes, I agree. I've spoken to many Masons and they've said the same thing, that the pre-initiation talk for the entered apprentice degree is paramount. You got to get that right in your lodges. You don't write your own. Get the manual out, study it, and give them the time. Also, what was happening is that everything was happening so quickly that there wasn't time to just sit and digest what was being said. I think I don't know if this is possible. I don't know why we're talking EA here, but I don't know if it's possible, but I think that perhaps that pre-initiation thing should be done the day before, or perhaps at a meeting of just those guys coming up, sitting down in a very calm, coffee shop kind of way, and give them, the overall things about it. So to your point, by the time I got to the inner room for Master Mason degree, I completely understood, because I took the time to go back and understand EA, understand Fellowcraft. And now I was looking forward to Master Mason, and I was able to completely understand what was being said to me.
Right.
And then going in, I was very, very keen on what was being said. And I was listening very intently to what was being said.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is part of the progress, right? So EA, Fellowcraft to Master Mason. We come out of darkness into light. Then we are given education and knowledge, and now we're being raised to this sublime degree, this final but not final degree of Master Mason. Chris is touching the wires and they're going crazy, so he's going to stop doing that now.
Very sensitive technology.
And since you knocked me off my thought, Chris, go ahead.
Wow. So apologize. It was this connector right here.
Aha.
So I mean the format of the 3 degrees becomes familiar.
Right.
To you. As we both just said, and that gives you a level of comfort, familiarity, and more presence of mind. So I think probably your 3rd degree, the first section, is your most prepared, most aware, most engaged degree you're going to get. Plus, at that point, you already understand this is the last biggest one that you're going to get, right? The most important one. Everybody tells you there's no degree better or bigger than the 3rd degree.
Right.
So it's one of those moments in life where it's going too fast and you just want to enjoy it. You just want to soak it up so much.
Right, yeah.
Whereas that 1st degree especially feels like an eternity. You're just so confused the whole time, and you just have no idea, and you don't know if 8 hours just passed or 1.
It's so true. That is so my experience.
Right?
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the Master Mason degree, you just want to just soak up every moment of that, and it just feels like it's over in the blink of an eye. And it can even be a little disappointing to people, I think. They're like, dang, I wish I could have hung on to that a little longer, or something else happened that I wasn't expecting. Which is a great setup for the second half, which for me, I had no idea was going to happen, and I was completely shocked, which is probably why it had such an impact on me and still has a lasting impact on my brain, just because it was such a shock, a complete and total shock. And then when you see what's happening and you're going through it, it was like just new surprise after new surprise. I was like, oh my gosh, this degree, people understated what I was going to experience here today. I was completely shocked that there were brothers trying to act. It seemed to me that they were trying a lot harder to act.
Yes.
And costumes help with that, dressing up probably helps a lot. You hear that from actors. Once they put on the costume, they felt like that part.
Right, that's right.
So that could have something to do with it. In our lodge, we use costumes. I know not all lodges do. But if you can get your hands on some, it really enhances the ritual, both for the performer and for the person going through.
See, I didn't know that some lodges don't use costumes in the second part, because to me, that would totally negate the entire thing to me. The costumes were huge. I mean, the costumes are huge to me. Having, being a Master Mason and going to other lodges or even in our own lodge and witnessing the degree as a Master Mason and seeing the spectacle.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the next level, right? You go through it yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you have the opportunity and privilege to sit amongst brothers who are going through it, coming up behind you, then that's when I got it. The first time I sat through the Master Mason degree and saw the raising.
Yeah.
That part
scenario
of the raising, right? And we're going to go through it. The Mentor's Manual does talk about the legend of Hiram Abiff. in there, which is about as far as I'm going to go as connecting the dots there. But that part of it meant a lot to me.
Yeah. Even that I wasn't understanding the significance of it in the moment, because no one had prepped me for that or told me about it. So in my mind, this was just another step in what I was going through. I didn't realize how monumental that moment was.
Right.
And the connection the person was trying to make with me that was actually in that part of the ritual with me in that moment. It took some months before I realized, looking back at how important that was, which was also a cool experience, Yeah. To have the awareness come much later, and then looking back going, oh my, yeah, that's right. Wow, my mind's going.
Right.
How crazy is this ritual? Keeps surprising me. And still, like you said, the more you go back to it, the more you uncover and discover hidden within it that's maybe not so obvious and not explained to you so plainly.
Yeah, right.
You start looking for that in these things as you go more and more to them and start participating more and more in them. You're looking for those little things that you missed, or you're like, oh, what was that? I never thought about that before. And you start to really become a more of a, what's the word? Archaeologist. You know how they're always hunting to try to uncover the mysteries.
Right, yeah.
That's you. You're hunting through these degrees, trying to find clues and little things maybe nobody's talked about that are in there. And some of those we'll be talking about here. But the preparation itself shouldn't be alien. It shouldn't be new. You shouldn't be surprised much by it.
That's right.
The details of it are very interesting, and especially when you look at it as a whole. Not just this one, but when you look at the first, the second, and the third, and the preparation itself, and start to see the bigger picture of how there's a pattern and a complete system here between the 3 degrees.
Yeah, and one thing that I remembered about the Master Mason degree, before we went through the door, just as the door was open for the second time and we were being let in, somebody whispered in my ear. I know who it was. It was a dear brother whispered in my ear, and he said to me, "I want you to." He didn't say I want you to. He said, "Who is Hiram Abiff?"
Really?
Yeah.
Someone whispered that in your ear?
Yeah. And so, and of course, by the end of the night, I did not know.
Really?
But the second time I saw it and witnessed it, that's when I realized. And I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
And if you're a Master Mason and you know, and you've done your studies, and you've been paying attention, you know exactly who he is. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But
what this degree is trying to use Hiram Abiff as the vehicle of is teaching. He's the focus, but he's a vehicle to teach the moral lessons that are supposed to come through in this degree.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
We're not worshiping Hiram Abiff as a deity, in case you're listening.
No.
Hiram Abiff is a character in the overarching story that helps the story culminate in the largest moral lesson, which is going to be talked about here. So if you're not a Mason, you're listening to this, we by no means are worshiping someone named Hiram Abiff as any kind of a deity. We don't have his severed head. We don't do circles around it.
That's right, yeah.
And it's just a character that's, I think, pulled from the Old Testament.
It is.
And fleshed out for the purposes of telling a really strong moral lesson.
Yeah, Hiram Abiff's boss, the king of Tyre, is in the scriptures. Anyways, if you're listening to this podcast and you are not a Mason, good on you, man. Good on you. Go down to your local lodge. They have an open house, and talk to those men and see if this is something for you. All right.
We get a lot of emails that say, hey, I don't know how do I join? And always I have to tell them, just Google Freemason Lodge near me. So if you're listening and you're not a Mason, just Google Freemason Lodge near me.
That's right.
And you'll probably have options. There's probably more than one.
And then if you did that, please email us and let us know what your experience was. We'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
So let's move on to 5.4, which is the reception. And I like the way this reads. It's a little and I like the way this reads, and it reads like this.
Ooh.
As in the preceding degrees.
Ooh, before you get into the reception, I'm so sorry. I just had a image in my mind because this is the last preparation we're going to talk about. So I was steward in a degree. It wasn't mine. But these guys, one of them was a good friend of mine, so I was paying special attention to them. As you do when you top line sign, you want to make sure your person's prepared and you've got them ready. So I kept popping in the preparation room, and they were getting ready. And the last time I popped in before they came in to read, the education, there's 3 of them, and one guy's sitting in a chair, and he has both of his legs behind his head. And I said, what in the God's name is going on in here? And these other 2 guys are looking at me like, help us.
Oh, God.
Help us. Apparently, this guy just decided, hey, look what I can do. While they're prepared in their, degree.
And this brother is still at the lodge? He's still in our lodge?
He's a member of our lodge. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Do
Great
not reveal,
brother.
Do not reveal his name.
And you'd be shocked when I told you, because you would not believe this person was doing that.
Yes, I would be.
But that was probably the funniest thing I ever saw in a preparation room, was just shocked by a guy who's doing some kind of contortionist stuff. Just probably to make the other guys uncomfortable, because they probably weren't. Like I said, in the 3rd degree, you feel more confident. So something like that oh, wow. This is interesting.
I find myself speechless, which doesn't happen very often. So
Next time I see the guy, I'll see if I can get him to do it for you.
No, I'll probably pass on that, brother. It's all good. No worries, man.
I
don't want any injuries, to be occurred
Time has
here.
passed.
So,
you need to become less flexible.
That's right. Bringing new meaning to the word flexible here on the level with Fred and Chris.
Mason flexible.
All right, please, 5.4. Everyone's saying, please, 5.4. 5.4 is the reception. So preparation, inside. Reception, opens up, outside. As in the preceding degrees, reception is meant to include all of the ceremonies transpiring at the inner door. The instrument to which attention is called reminds one that all of the tenets of Freemasonry must be implemented in the heart if they are to serve their ultimate purpose and become a part of your way of life. To be fully effective in all of these, all of these must bear fruit through their practice in our daily lives. So a little bit difficult to understand if you don't know Freemasonry, because it says the instrument to which attention is called. Well, that's protected.
They're being a little vague.
Yeah, they are for a good reason, because that's something we can't actually talk about. That's privileged information for Master Masons only.
Wink, wink.
However, whatever it is, it does speak to the fact that everything up to that point, is part of your education. And what it's reminding us is that EA, Fellow Craft, Master Mason teachings is a complete system that encompasses, your entire life. If you truly want to walk in the way of a Mason, then you're going to implement, like, for instance, the working tools, all of them. And of course, in the Master Mason degree, the main working tool is a metaphor for all of them, that we use all of them in life to make us better men, better husbands, better churchmen, whatever it is that you do in life, better at your work. We use all of the tools, all of those things. And I really wish we could give more information, because that particular part, and I'm tantalizing. I don't know.
Both words.
I'm if you're not a Mason, and this is causing you to want to know more, then good. I hope you will. Again, Google Masonic lodges near me. Go down, talk to them, send us an email, and we'll talk further about it. But anyway,
if you are a Mason,
then
think about this. You've been given 5 core working tools, right? 2 in the first degree and 3 in the second, up until this point. And you're coming into the very beginning of the 3rd degree, and there are a lot of working tools involved in this degree, if you think about it. There's a 6th core working tool that you're going to be shown in this degree, which is the one, not the one we're talking about right now. This implement is from a previous degree, but you will have 6 core working tools by the end of this degree. But at the very end, we cover many other symbols and emblems that are related, and some of them are working tools, and some of them are just symbols and emblems. But there's a lot of that in the Master Mason degree. But at the very beginning, I like what this is telling us, that experience of being received and that implement that's used is supposed to be putting in your mind that all of these tools and all of the methodology that you've learned up to this point contain the whole of Freemasonry, and it's alive within your heart. Basically, you are Freemasonry now. You contain it within you. You carry it into the world. You carry it with you everywhere you go. You should be, by the time you leave this degree, a full-fledged Mason that understands all of the core, principles, tools, and tenets of this fraternity.
Correct.
And you should have accepted it in yourself by the time you become a Master Mason. You've dealt with your instructor, your catechism person, your classmates. You've toiled in the quarries with them. You've proved your proficiency. You've learned a lot of lessons, and hopefully you've actually been applying some of them to your life by the time you go through the Master Mason degree. And you're prepared to become an actual full-fledged member of the oldest fraternity on earth. I amp it up a little bit too much when I have a catechism class. I start texting them like a few days before their Master Mason degree, telling them to enjoy their last few days on the earth as a profane, because they're about to become something more than a man. And I keep that going right up until the hour of their degree. So the expectation's so high.
I love it.
In their mind by the time they get their degree. But that's what this reception is basically telling us. You're different now.
Right.
You are Freemasonry. It's inside of you. And it's a reminder at the very beginning that everything that you need is already inside your heart.
Yeah, that's right. So you're in the inner room, right? In preparation inside the room. The door is open and you come in and you are different.
Yeah.
You are in a different place. And in 5.11 of the manual, we'll talk about the working tool of a Master Mason, which obviously we can talk about because it's published in this book, which is the trowel, of course, which represents a lot of different things. I don't want to go too deep. I don't like giving away too much. I don't want to ruin it first thing for anybody. And also, it's ours. It's ours. These esoteric teachings, the teachings that you can only get within a lodge, they're ours. They don't belong to the world. They belong to us. If you're a Master Mason today and you're listening to this, we share something in common that the world is not privy to. And to me, that means a lot to me. And I'm sorry, I know it's a little, well, I wouldn't say cliquey.
You're
but
revolutionary.
I would say that it is, this is my tribe. This is my clan, my tribe, my people. And we have a very old tradition that has been handed down, through these generations. And I do like to protect it.
Yeah.
I am offended by people who want to go out there, even though most of them are a joke, go out online and listen to some of these knuckleheads. But
I hear it at the dinner table at my wife's
right, and it
house.
goes on. And frankly, I hear it too from people, and I just kind of smile, and it's like I'm kind of it's kind of I've said this before on other podcasts. It's kind of funny to me to listen to them talk about people they've heard on the internet who say this, that, and the other about Masonry. But here's a live human being that you have a relationship standing before you saying, no, it's nothing like that. And they're like, oh, no, you've got it all wrong. It's like, wait, hold on. Anyway, but let's just stop right there.
By living this, you can change people's hearts a little bit. Like
absolutely true.
I have seen it. Like my wife's family hates Masonry. They're very religious. And I'm not saying that because religious is bad. I'm saying that because being very religious, they heard bad things about Freemasonry.
Correct, yeah.
And they don't even know where they heard it.
Right.
But they know stuff, and it's not good. And they have this really negative view. And so I, like you, they like to make fun of it. They like to,
right,
always go over the line on the negative side. And I don't fight anyone anymore. I just try to do what Freemasonry tells me, which is don't engage in it. Keep focusing on myself and my time. And so my actions show who we are.
Yeah, that's right.
I always show up when they need help. If I can help with money, with time, with the borrowing or finding somebody a job, in the family, I'm always the guy that's trying to be helpful.
Right.
And when political things come up or religious things come up, I just don't engage. And now they're at the point where they're curious, and so they're having their conversations, and it's religious, political, or whatever. And they say, "What do the Freemasons think about that?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not really at liberty to talk about that."
I love it.
And now they're very curious. They've gone from being like angry and hostile to, the way I present myself is different than it was before Freemasonry. So they're very curious, like, how did I get this way, and how did they help me, and what do I really know? And the less I tell them, the more they think I know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I love that. I just absolutely love that kind of stuff. All right, so the trowel, to me, is it's a perfect metaphor, of spreading the cement of brotherly love and affection. And to use that trowel, one must have a working knowledge of all the other tools. And I will say that we are speaking April 29th up in Hillsboro, and one of the other speakers is Brother John Nagy, and he goes through the working tools in a really, really powerful way. If you ever get a chance to listen to some of his stuff online, it's really powerful, and he kind of brings through those the working tools up to the trowel, which is, of course, spreading the cement of brotherly love and affection, and again, the 3 degrees are out of darkness, into light, then preparation, education, and knowledge, and then taking the knowledge, taking everything that you've been given, and implementing it into your life, into your world, and into the people around you, into your lodge, and I just the metaphors, the work that has gone into this ancient craft is. And I get it. Lately, we've been getting a lot of requests for Chris and I to come speak about esoteric teaching, Masonic esoteric teaching, and I get it. I understand why.
Yeah.
Because it's so deep and it's so necessary right now.
Yes.
In this country, especially in the lives of our young men who really need to find some moral compass, and a tribe to belong to, and a good purpose to put themselves into. We see it. We get all kinds of. People writing in and talking to us about, hey, we need this in our lodge. We want we want you to come and talk to us. And I think, I don't know how I got off on this tangent, but I just think that, again, as we look into this Master Mason degree, getting to that place in Masonry where you have what you need to begin the actual work in the world, is just extremely powerful. And I encourage every man listening right now, regardless of whether you're EA, fellow craft, or Master Mason, maybe you're a Master Mason who's been one for a long, long time, go back to the fundamentals, go back to the principles, and the principles of making yourself that good man.
Yeah.
And spread that love, brotherly love and affection, relief, all of the things that our craft teaches. Let's all of us make that determination that we're going to study it, and then we're going to go out and live it.
That would be fantastic, because
I think it's coming.
Well, this degree in particular is about old age. You could say manhood. It's about that point in your life where you've achieved some wisdom through experience, and ultimately age and death. And the one thing that this degree, aside from that, which is a highlight of a point in Masonry that I think is never left behind, which is that your mortality is something you need to keep in the forefront, is harmony. Okay, that's like the tool that is given to you in this degree. It does say all the implements of Masonry that you've learned so far are important, but this degree is about learning how to be harmonious with people, how to stick together, how to have decency and love for each other.
Right.
This is what we're really, the world is sorely missing this, and our political leaders, our religious leaders, our business leaders wish they were Masons, because back when Masons were involved in those things, government, politics, and religion, we were a stronger, better people.
Absolutely.
And we're now the opposite of harmonious in most of those positions I just mentioned. We don't care to work with each other. We don't care to hear each other. We don't care to understand each other. It's the opposite. It seems like we're rewarding people that are inflammatory and defamatory and accusatory, and all these nasty things are being virtuous in our society now.
Yeah.
So really, if you're going to get into Masonry, you got a tough journey ahead of you, because the world doesn't value the things we value anymore. And so we have the hard job of trying to bring that back into fashion and trying to bring integrity, courage, love, harmony, working together, respecting each other back into the world. Masonry isn't meant to... We talked in the early degrees, if you recall, about the EA degree, basically putting training wheels on you.
Right.
And saying, okay, this is how you're supposed to live your life, and you do it in the lodge because you learn, and that's how everybody behaves, and so you behave that way. That's training wheels. Those wheels need to be off in this degree.
Right.
You're supposed to be able to take all that stuff you do in the lodge, which is be courteous, understanding, respectful, loving, out into the world and do that with your neighbors, with your coworkers, with your bosses, with people that you don't like. And so, I hope that people really take that message that this degree is trying to tell you, which is it's time to grow up, it's time to go out into the world, and it's time to bring harmony everywhere you go, into everything that you touch, as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's a good summation.
This degree hammers harmony and how important it is to society.
Yeah, well, and harmony is, of course, the other two notes that coincide in the chord, right? So the A chord is the A note, and then C and E are those two harmonies. So if I were to sing in A and you were to sing in E, we would be singing in melody and harmony. And
we're not going to do it.
And any music people out there, if I'm wrong, please tell me. I think I'm right. It's been a little while since I did any music theory. All right, number 5.5, the obligation, which we could definitely spend an entire episode talking about this. And believe it or not, it's just a short paragraph. And I think that's for a reason, because there is so much here.
There's a lot.
They just give us a blurb on it, and then you can take it from there. But I do like the way it's worded. It's very good. The obligation is the heart of the degree. For by its assumption, one obtains the privileges, the rights, and benefits of the society in which he has sought membership. The new Mason must be reminded that a knowledge of the obligation is essentially necessary if he is to keep and perform it. Every brother should commit this obligation to memory and employ it as a yardstick by which he may measure the minimum duty toward God, his neighbor, and himself. And I put a box around that word, minimum duty. Your obligation is the minimum standard that we live by. And that's a high standard.
Yeah, and it's the minimum.
This
is like...
It's the starting point.
Right. This is what makes you a Mason, if you can do this minimum expectation. But it's hope that you can do much better and greater than this. Tough order.
Yeah, and I think that it says here in the stuttering. Knock it off. Maybe not enough coffee, or maybe too much coffee. I'm not exactly sure.
Don't get nervous.
But it says it should be committed to memory and employed as a yardstick. When I think when it says committed to memory, it's in other words, own it. Yeah. You should own them. So there's the three obligations. They all work together. They all build on each other and come to this one crescendo. But it's that you should own it. So as you go through life and as you see situations arise in your life, that obligation should be on a subconscious level guiding the things that you do and say. And the focus is toward a brother Mason. And Masonry and a brother Mason, but it is clearly also points you to the world at large and the way we are to behave in the world.
I think it is geared towards the individual's relationship with the world. But it does say most especially, you got to remember to treat your brothers this way.
Right.
So
yeah, that's right.
definitely try in the world, but you absolutely need to treat your brother this way.
And this is training for life. And I'm going to say this, I've said it before on other podcasts. It just breaks my heart that the church that I attend as a Presbyterian, they don't outright teach this stuff. It's assumed. There is no manual. What they'll tell you is the scriptures are the manual, which is true. But there is no man who extracted from it and sat down and said, okay, here's a systematic way of organizing your life in a fashion that is beneficial to God and man. And it just breaks my heart that they move further and further away from it. Seems I went last Sunday. I was in church, and the sermon I heard, I could have been in tears at its lack of relevance
Really?
in the life in the current lives of young men.
Do they take feedback? Is there anyone you can?
No. Church is not real. They're not real good at feedback.
No?
Never. That's not true. Maybe they have been. But in my experience, my 38 years experience of being in and out of church ministry, feedback is not really. I don't even know where you would. I guess you could have a private meeting with a pastor and tell him how you felt about a sermon.
That sounds really serious, though.
In my experience, I've done it more than once. At that point, your relationship with that pastor generally changes,
right?
And you are no longer, on the inner circle. I'm sorry to sound so negative. I am a member of good standing at a church. I attend my church regularly, and I participate wherever I can within it, simply because I am commanded to by the scriptures. But there is no greater critic of the current state of those organizations than I am, because I tried for 25 years to find a place where we are teaching how to do this. How do you do this? That's great. Okay, I get it. I understand salvation. I understand all that. I get it. But the parts where we have to go out into the world and carry each other and help each other and build each other up and forgive each other, where do we teach that at? And unfortunately, I found it in the oldest fraternity that is known to society, which is known as Freemasonry. And again, I support the church 100%. I support them with my tithes and with everything I do, but they are sorely lacking. So if you're listening to this and you're a Freemason, maybe you're a Christian, maybe you're a Muslim, maybe you're a Buddhist, doesn't matter, because Freemasonry is not a religion. You are on a pathway that is, in my opinion, sorely lacking and privileged. It is a privilege to be a part of a systematic tradition of good living, of right living,
right?
Of learning how to go from darkness to that narcissistic darkness to become a man who gives and cares and does unto others as he would have them, done to himself, and the golden rule and all the teachings. It's all appropriate and understandable if you'll just take the time to go through this and learn it. Anyway, that's my sermon for today. We're going to move on.
They say that Freemasonry is a system of morality that makes good men better. But at our open houses, I often tell people it's more accurately to say that it's a system of morality that gives men the tools to make themselves better.
That's correct.
That's more accurate.
Much more accurate, yeah.
It's affirming what you just said. Like, you have to actually, use those things.
Do the work.
If they're going to actually make a change.
Right.
Just being aware of their existence doesn't do anything if you don't use them. And so never forget that this is a lifelong journey, that becoming a Master Mason in this degree is not the end of your journey. The work isn't over. It's just starting. It's really just beginning. And it's something that you're going to have to work at your whole life. And you'll go through phases. I think there are times when family or work takes over your life and you don't have time for anything else and you got to do what you got to do. But as much as you can come back to this, I think it will help you ground yourself in your life and improve in many aspects of it. So it's a great thing. And no one's going to look down on you if you get busy for 10 years and you had kids and you got a job. If you come back every once in a while, or even after 5-10 years, they're going to welcome you like you were there yesterday and be grateful that you're back. A lot of people I've noticed are really hesitant and afraid to come back after some absence.
Yeah, right. Which is, I kind of understand that, and it is kind of the onus is on us who are active in lodge to reach out to them.
Yeah. I think they just assume they're going to have forgotten stuff and be embarrassed. But, that is not the case. I don't know if that's how it was at one point, but today, if you come back after 10, 20, 30 years of not being around, they're just going to be glad to see you. Nobody's going to ask you questions or try you. These are your brothers. That's your lodge. Been your lodge longer than theirs, and so they should respect you and show you your status as an elder in that lodge when you come, and you should be treated as an honored guest. So, don't be afraid to come back. In fact,
I agree. Come back.
Yeah, we do these Rusty Mason things. We're going to be doing one this month, and it's for people like that. They've forgotten. It's been so long, they don't remember the words and the signs, and so it's a little crash course where you give them a refresher and a reminder.
Is that at the shrine?
Yeah.
So it's even better because there'll be drinks afterwards.
and before.
Possibly during. I would encourage everybody. I'm waving my little red Florida Masonic code book at the camera right now for those who are listening. I would encourage everyone to get it out and go to the Master Mason Catechism where the obligation is. The blue one, which is the digest, either one, and go through your Master Mason obligation again. And just go through it, just refresh. I like using the code book because it forces me to go back in memory and do it instead of any kind of reading. Of course, there is no actual written out reading of the catechism itself.
No, not really.
Not really, but unless you go to Open Books, which is the last Sunday of every month here in District 23. And this month, I think it's in Punta Gorda, which is really far away. So sometimes it's at our lodge. And I have yet to make it.
Oh, really?
Both times we had it at our lodge, I was actually running the lodge work day. So I was out back pulling weeds while everybody else was inside going through the books. But I'm looking forward to doing that. And I don't know how I got off on this tangent, but if you're going to Open Book Day and you're sitting down with in our district, the men you're sitting down with to go through those books are heavyweights, man. They know their stuff big time. Yeah. But if you're doing that, good on you, man, because you are taking an active part in really digging in to what the obligation is, to what you're obligated to do as a Mason for yourself, your family, and society. Do we want to do one more?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
And you're becoming an asset to your lodge. You can take that, so many people rely on what they were taught and they don't go verify anything for themselves, which I understand that. But in reality, you wind up repeating a lot of mistakes and making new ones. So they start to compound over time. If you learn improperly and then you make mistakes and then you teach someone, you see how it gets worse through the generations. So it's really critically important that somebody is going to Open Books to check.
Yeah,
make sure they're keeping everybody up to par with what the Florida work is. And sometimes they change the Florida work. So if you go to Open Books, you'll be notified of any changes that are made, which is going to be important for your lodge too.
Right, yeah. And that is what keeps Masonry speaking the same message,
unified
for 350 years. It's the same message because of the way the system is set up. Those checks and balances. We get off sometimes, and words are inserted, and all words have meanings. But then that open book brings us back to, the original concept and charter of what Freemasonry is. Okay, 5.6, real quick: clandestine lodge and clandestine Mason.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy. Let's finish off with this one. Although we only got about 10 more minutes, Chris. You think we can do it?
Sounds nefarious. I think we have to do it.
A clandestine lodge is one which does not owe its existence to a charter or warrant issued by some regular Grand Lodge. All Grand Lodges of the world seek to establish fraternal relations with sister Grand Lodges. Many of these are recognized by the Grand Lodge of Florida, Free and Accepted Masons, but this is not the case with others. There are certain standards to which Grand Lodges must conform in order to secure recognition. The Grand Lodges that are not recognized by our Grand Lodge and the lodges holden under such Grand Lodges are considered clandestine to this extent. Visitation by our brethren in such lodges is not permitted, nor may Florida Masons receive visitors from such lodges in their own meetings. So, fraternizing with those who have not submitted themselves to Grand Lodge's standards, right?
Yeah. But this is a new thing for most Master Masons who are just becoming Master Masons. They never heard of this before.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And they're like, what? How would I know the difference? And the answer is you wouldn't.
Right, yeah.
So there is a book that's published every year of all of the lodges that are recognized by the Grand Lodge of Florida.
Yep.
And you can obtain this book, and then you can look at it and reference any lodge that you're thinking of going to just to make sure that they are recognized, or regular, as we call them. And if they're not in that book, then they are not recognized and they're clandestine, which means you're not supposed to go visit them. And
it's not because we're necessarily angry, at odds, anything like that. It's because we as regular, free, and accepted Masons, we hold to a standard, and one of those standards is obedience to the standard. So if you're involved with a clandestine Mason or a clandestine lodge, those are people who have made up their mind that they're not going to submit. Mm-hmm. They're going to pretend to be Masonic and be Masons, but they're not going to submit to the state Grand Lodge and underneath it. And you may not agree with the way the Grand Lodge is currently being run. You may not agree with a lot of the people in there. It doesn't matter.
Happen. At some point in your Masonic life, that's going to happen. You're going to disagree with something they're doing and some legislation they're passing or the way that they're behaving.
Right, but you took an obligation before God and your brothers to not be a part of that.
Right.
And it protects the fraternity.
Yeah.
I think that's the bottom line. It protects the fraternity from those who have made a decision to be above in their own minds or apart from the actual lodge.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. It's again, this is one of the things that just makes us Masons. We took an obligation, we took an oath, we swore fealty to the Grand Lodge, to the Grand Master, and that's part of what a fraternity is. And you took an obligation to be part of this one. And so in order to keep the integrity of this, meaning that we can police ourselves, we can make sure that people are living up to the standards that we set as Masons, we have to be within the system. If you're not within that system, then there is no penal oversight, and people can technically say and do whatever they want with no repercussions. And that is not Freemasonry.
That's right. Yeah, we are all accountable to our brethren. There's a reason why we have a line in the lodge, and it goes up, up through your lodge to your worshipful master, and from there, it goes to your district deputy grand master, and then from there it goes up into the grand line.
We should actually cover that in a podcast.
Yeah, that sounds
the system, the penal system in Masonry, and how it's set up and how it works, and the process of filing complaints and stuff like that.
Perhaps we should ask Right Worshipful District Deputy Grand
Doug Dobbs.
Sorry, no.
Tom Haber.
Tom Haber. Sorry, Tom.
Right Worshipful District Deputy Thomas Haber.
District Deputy Grand Master.
Yeah. Right Worshipful District Deputy
Grand Master. I always get the Grand Master part wrong. I'm sorry. You'll have to slap me in the back of the head next time you see me.
He doesn't care about his title.
I know he does not. Neither does Doug. But I find it important. It's important. Yeah. It's not the man, it's the office. I want to respect the office.
Right.
I do respect the men, absolutely. But I want to respect that office. And I think all of us should. And it gets back to the whole concept of clandestine Masonry. They don't respect the offices. And they don't respect the concepts behind Masonry. If there are any clandestine lodges out there anymore, I'm having
sure
a hard time believing that there's a lot of them. Perhaps there is.
We don't experience it ever really here in our little corner of the world, but I'm sure at Grand Lodge they deal with it.
Yeah, probably.
That's something we have to ask them about.
When we're privileged enough to interview
does this
them.
come up? Like, is this an issue that you guys are dealing
I'm going
with?
to write that down. Yeah, that is a good question.
It is. I'm curious.
Stay tuned, fellas.
I bet they have stories to tell.
So Chris, this is our second endeavor into lessons from the Master Mason degree. I see that next week we're going to get into a discussion about dotage, madmen, and libertines. So I think that's going to be it's pretty in depth. It's actually half a page in the manual if you look at it. And it's actually I think it's a great conversation. She should break into some different aspects of it.
Those are words we don't use much in today's world.
Dotage.
So. And libertine.
Libertine, right?
So,
which is a very misunderstood word. I'm not going to give it away this week. We'll do that next week.
I'm actually curious to hear what it actually means.
I'm just, again, overwhelmed. I'm going to probably end up saying this eventually, but I'm really overwhelmed by the reception that we've had everywhere we go. I was at a Widow Sons meeting on early Sunday morning, sitting next to a dear brother, and he was just. They were all just really appreciative, of the show, and I had one brother come up to me and he was talking to me about he'd like us to do he wants us to do an episode on the level. The concept of meeting on the level.
I think we did one.
But he went through a personal experience recently. In business outside the lodge with another Master Mason, where the concept of meeting on the level was ignored, and he had some really good insight. So I told him that we would definitely dig deeper into it one day.
Very interesting.
And bring it. And I told him to be careful because we might actually call you up and get you out here. So, brother, careful what you ask for.
Yes.
Because I can tell you this: once we start interviewing people, it's not going to stop, man. It's going to roll.
So many interesting people.
I'm really looking forward to that. Well, Chris, we're at 56 minutes or so, just about an hour. I do want to expand, maybe do a after hour one, go a little deeper on things, in an after hour one. I think 1 hour show per week is probably good. That's our goal. You guys let us know. Email us if you'd like us to try to go a little bit longer maybe on these, or do extended versions, or behind a wall kind of thing. Anything like that, just shout out. It's Fred at onthelewithfredandchris.com, or
Chris at onthelewithfredandchris.com.
Spell it out, no spaces. We did it for a reason. It's easy to remember, just hard to type. But
you can also get us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere.
Yeah, online. You can get us on Twitter as well. Yeah, Twitter too.
Yeah.
You cannot get us on TikTok, and you will never get us on TikTok because I opened it up to take a look at it, and as soon as I saw what I saw, I removed it and deleted it. Don't need TikTok. Sorry. No political reasons there, just because of the garbage that came over it the first time I opened it. I was like, nope, I'm done. Don't want it.
That's why I deleted it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it happened, but it's all like really inappropriate stuff I don't really want to see.
It's like, what is this? Anyway, we're not going to end the show on that note. We're going to end the show on this note. Brothers, get out your little red book today and go through your Master Mason obligation again. You won't regret it. And meditate on it. Think about it a little bit more, and go back to your lodge and shake somebody's hand and tell them that you're grateful to be a part of the world's oldest fraternity with them. And on that, Chris, you got anything for us on the way out?
No, I think that's a great thing to leave everybody with. Thank you for listening, and look forward to talking more about the Master Mason degree in part 3.
See you next week.